The Houston Texans made the playoffs for the second year in a row, and it was a pretty good feat by Bill O'Brien because Brock Osweiler absolutely sucked and they won through a front seven. Now, when I look at their team, obviously there still needs to be a lot of moves on the offensive side, but as well as the defensive side. On the defensive side of the ball, their secondary is kind of getting up there in age. I look at Jonathan Joseph as basically their number one cornerback. It might be replaced by AJ Bouye in the future, but I would see them drafting a corner probably this draft sometime. I don't know which round, but I could see a guy who will eventually take the role for Jonathan Joseph. Also, when it comes to their defense, obviously Vince Wilfork retired, and then they also might need a second defensive end. Now, obviously, they got Clowney and Merciless both on the outside linebackers bringing in pass rush, but I could see them possibly getting one of those players through the draft. Now, when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, let's start off simple. When I look at their offensive line, they don't they it's not the same what it used to be 5 years ago. Okay, Dwayne Brown's getting up there in age, so they're definitely going to need to draft a lot of players right there and build around the depth right there, and that's mostly it. When it comes to receivers, I would say just give them time. No need to rush for them. Now, when it comes to running backs, I think Lamar Miller is a good running back in the NFL, but I think that they could go for a possible trucking back. I look at LeGarrette Blount as a potential option. I also look at Matt Asiata, a guy who could just pound it in and get it in the goal line because they need to be a strong goal line team. Now, when it comes to the quarterback issue, a quarterback I would be looking at if I'm Bill O'Brien is Matt Moore of the Miami Dolphins. I think he will fit their system perfectly, and also he's a backup quarterback, so he might be worth at most a third or fourth round pick. So that's actually not too bad right there, and he actually has produced, and he will probably get the best coach he's probably ever had, and then he will probably have some success there. So I definitely would look at Matt more because he's definitely a lot quicker with the release. Because Brock Osweiler, obviously, if he's not the answer, of course, and then Tom Savage doesn't really throw the ball to as quickly as he should. So obviously, if you get Matt Moore, and I think he'd be better on the quick time throws. So overall, the Houston Texans is if they get a quarterback, they're the real deal. And there's some quarterbacks they could be interested in. When it comes to Tony Romo, that might be a good bet, but at the same time, though, they will probably get Tony Romo if he gets released. Because if you get him through a trade, you have to give up something for Tony Romo. And not only that, you're also taking a roughly a $18 million contract, and you already got a $14 million contract with Brock Osweiler. So there's a lot of money going to the quarterback position. And that's going to be kind of hard because I look at Tony Romo in his later years as a game managing quarterback because that's what he's going to be doing. Also, I look at Jimmy Garoppolo as a great target right there. He's young and also that he has the quick release. So that's a positive right there for them. And also, let's just say Tom Brady, just to throw it in here. Tom Brady will probably never get traded off to the Patriots, but Joe Montana was traded for first things first. So, and if they do like Jimmy Garoppolo and for Tom Brady for the future, they could trade Tom, but highly unlikely. It's just imagine. It's basically just me trying to think of a creative dream scenario for a Houston Texans fan. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo is probably the more realistic option. Now, also, you could look at Chase Daniels. I know he's a little bit of a game managing quarterback. He could be one of those guys right there. Or you could go for a starting quarterback, Alex Smith. I'm not a big fan of Alex Smith, but if he's operating the shot and he's throwing short, maybe that could work for a short-term thing, and then they'll possibly draft a quarterback so he can sit in front. That's also a possibility that they could do, but not too highly. I look at Deshaun Watson as a project, and I'm not sure if Bill O'Brien is really the developing quarterback type because when Bill O'Brien had his real success as a New England Patriots coach, assistant, coordinator, Tom Brady was already developed. I guess in 2007, you could argue that was the year when Tom Brady was just throwing all over the place. At the same time, though, he had Randy Moss and Wes Welker, so it's a little bit debatable right there. So I don't really see them drafting a Deshaun Watson, and I think Deshaun Watson will fall in the draft. So I'm not so sure about him. But when I look at this team, the Houston Texans, they're only a couple pieces away from getting a bye. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, the Chiefs just got a bye, and they don't really have a quarterback, and their quarterback situation is obviously better. But if Houston gets a quarterback, I could see them as a 12-win team, and the AFC South is catching up to them. Eventually, that division should become good. I mean, you got Andrew Luck, who's probably the best young prospect in the game right now, and then you got Blake Bortles, who should eventually become something, and then you got the Tennessee Titans. They got a bunch of fun little players right there. So overall, when I look at the Houston Texans, they're going to need to do a lot this offseason.